right, so we're going to do a tech tip today on solenoid rebuilds or just maintaining your solenoids if you have an issue. We'll start with our fuel solenoid, trash can solenoid, standard nitrous, or purge or X series nitrous solenoids. We have the rebuild kits in front of them. This is an alcohol piston because it is blue. If it was black, it would be the fuel piston, which is what we will be taking out of this one to upgrade it to the alcohol solenoid. This is the standard solenoid wrench that you can purchase from us. This is the trash can style version of that we've put a little bend on to make it a little easier to work with the larger tower on here. And then we have a nice billet piece here that has a wrench spot where you can really cinch down on there and loosen the towers on your solenoids. So like I said, we're going to start on this fuel solenoid, switching it over to the alcohol piston. We'll loosen the tower nut here. If you don't have this wrench, it's a 3/4 inch nut. The tower and piston come off as one unit. You can take this out, slide the wires out, just make sure they're oriented the same way whenever you put it back together, because they do not have room to fit if there's a twist in them. So they have to go in straight all the way through. So we'll set our can and piston off to the side, the nut, and then you have this big washer. Note that the ridge is where the can can seat properly. So that will stay up like that. And you'll see the two little holes on either side of the tower. That's where these teeth from this tool engage. And if you're having trouble removing this, they install them very, very strongly whenever they build the solenoids. You can take any fitting that's an 1/8 MPT and thread it into the inlet fitting and put it in your vise. You can set it up against the edge so that it doesn't slip. You don't want to mar up the base of your solenoid. They are aluminum, so you can scratch them by spinning them in the vise. But you'll engage these teeth from this solenoid tool in the tower right there and either hit it with something or just use pretty good force. Or, like I had showed earlier, we have this nice billet tool. They can slip down over the tower and use a 10AN billet wrench to loosen the tower on. So you'll just loosen it like this. Make sure whenever you take the tower, especially off on these fuel solenoids, there's a really, really small spring that will not fly off, but it sits in the top of the piston. And sometimes, I don't know if you can see that, but it gets stuck down in the base because the pistons are oiled from the factory. So we'll make sure we get that spring out. It's that size right there, so it is quite small. And when you're reassembling it, it just sits in the top of the piston like that. So I'll set this one off to the side. You can see that it has the standard black fuel material, which I believe is E85 proof, but not pure alcohol. The rebuild kit comes with the O-ring that goes into the base, a replacement spring, and the piston. So we'll set these out. We might need to get a little pick, or no, we can get the O-ring out. There's the old O-ring. So we'll install our new O-ring. Make sure whenever you take it apart that the screen from the inlet side of the solenoid is not pushed into the channel area here because it won't be doing any filtering if it's not seated properly in the base. So I'll put that back in there like this. We have our nice alcohol piston. We'll drop the spring to the back. And then you want to hold it like this so the spring doesn't fall out, and set the tower on top of it, making sure that you put it right up the center, and then you can flip it over. Make sure that the piston can move up and down inside of the collar, and never ever grab this section of the tower with pliers or anything like that. This section is actually quite thin so that there's less or better heat dissipation between the coil and everything else. So make sure that moves freely, and then make sure your O-ring is here. You might want to add some white lithium grease or some sort of nice grease, not too much, just enough to get the O-ring to where it doesn't bind up or gall inside of the solenoid. Hold your piston in place, let it slide over the surface, and you'll tighten this down. Doesn't have to be too tight, but just give it a good turn until it stops, and then maybe give it a bump with a hammer or just pull pretty well with your hand. But this is now an alcohol solenoid, or it can handle alcohol. The seat won't swell. So we'll grab the other parts to that and reassemble. So washer with the ridge facing down or up like that. Your can goes right on top, and then the nut goes right on top of that. Do not over tighten this. You can actually crush the plastic housing on the coil if you over tighten it. So just anything that you can hold in your hand, put some decent force on it, And now you have your freshly rebuilt fuel solenoid with an alcohol piston this time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our tech support team or sales team. We can get you hooked up with one of these billet solenoid tools, rebuild kits, solenoid wrenches, anything you need to maintenance your solenoids, we have it available on the website, or you can talk to our salesman.